G'day guys, Shawnee from Life and Tennis. Wow, what a men's final we witnessed at Roland Garros on Sunday night. In today's video, I'll be focusing on that match in particular, and I'll do a follow-up video on the women's final and just the tournament in general. But I thought I'd start with the men's final just because there are no words for what we watched on that Sunday afternoon. 5.5 hours of just exhilarating, brutal, incredible tennis, the likes of which will honestly go up there with Wimbledon 2008, Australian Open 2012, and potentially Wimbledon of 2019. They're probably the three best finals of all time, I would say, prior to the Roland Garros final this year. But I'll definitely put that final in the argument. It's definitely in the mix now. And look, there's been a lot of commentary around the match itself, particularly with John McEnroe making the very divisive comment about Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz beating Rafa Nadal at his best. That was the statement he made on live TV, which I wholeheartedly do not agree with. But I can understand, in some ways, I can understand why he said that. And it's also a bit of recency bias. Whenever you watch, a high quality tennis match or of sporting match in general, it's very easy to, all the accolades come out. It's very easy to define that match as like an instant classic and, one of the greatest of all time and all the rest of it. And then when enough time passes, we get to assess or reassess original statements and whether they still hold any validity. But with in this particular example, I would say the match itself, 100% would go down as one of the greatest finals of all time. For me, definitely in the top 5 and absolutely in the top 10. Where does it rank in terms of, all top, like the top 3 or the greatest of all time? I still think Wimbledon 2008, for me, still is both an iconic match and a great match. I think there's a difference between, I guess the cultural impact or, the moment itself as well as the quality of tennis. Whereas, say, Australian Open 2012 was probably potentially higher quality or more brutal tennis between Djokovic and Nadal. And of course, Wimbledon 2019 was a bit of both. It was, two guys that were going toe-to-toe. One that was right near the end of his career. Another that was trying to establish himself as one of the greatest of all time in Novak Djokovic. I think up to that point, people were still talking about him that way, but it wasn't maybe as firmly established as it is now that he is if not the greatest players of all time. But they're the 3 finals I would put in the argument as the greatest of all time. And now this French Open final of this year, 2025, is definitely up there as well. I mean, it had everything, didn't it? Sinner was up 2-0. He had a break in the 3rd set. Alcaraz came back and then won that set. But then Sinner had that 5-3 love 40 on Alcaraz's serve, and 3 chances to win the title, basically. And look, you could say that Sinner made errors or, threw the match away. Other people will say that, Alcaraz dug in there and went God mode basically after that. And, both cases are equally as valid, I would say. I wouldn't say that. I think it's a very tough argument to have to say that Sinner threw the match away, simply because that the 4th and the 5th set was still ultra close, really tight. Sinner still had a chance to serve out the match at 5-4, couldn't quite do it. And then, Alcaraz held serve broke, held serve and then broke again. And then that 5th set went all the way to a deciding tiebreak. So both players were just playing amazing tennis, going toe-to-toe. Alcaraz broke he broke first in the 5th set, and then Sinner broke back, and then they managed to keep holding serve until that final set tiebreak, where Alcaraz again won the first 7 points, just went absolutely God mode, and there was no way back for Sinner. But it was a match that really had everything. It had, it was brutal. It had amazing moments of genius. It had there was tension. There were errors, uncharacteristic errors from both sides. It had everything. I think a great match needs to have all of that. It's impossible to expect a match is just going to be flawless with no errors at all. I mean, even when you talk about the other great matches that I've just mentioned, Wimbledon 2008, Australian Open 2012, and Wimbledon 2019, all of those matches had various stages where both players were making errors, either uncharacteristic or, through pressure, basically. But they were all classic matches in their own right for both the quality of tennis and just the moment itself, how iconic they've become. And this is another example where, it's very, very hard to argue against, putting the Roland Garros 2025 match as one of the greatest finals of all time. One of the biggest things I want to touch on with this match is the mental adversity that Alcaraz had to go through to win this match, the mental toughness of Alcaraz himself, because I talked about it in my previous pennant video, the round 5 pennant recap of the club competition that I play in Australia, about how, mental is everything, how important the mental side of tennis is, and how I feel like that, not that it let me down last weekend, but it was a major factor as to why I lost that match. And you watch this final between Alcaraz and Sinner, and that to me is the definition of a player that just A, never gave up, B, had belief right until the end, and C, executed his game plan to perfection. I mean, obviously at times he was making errors and he did go down 2-0. I would also argue that Sinner came out not missing a beat, and the thing we've come to learn with Alcaraz is that he can sometimes go off the boil a little bit, sometimes go for a bit too much when he doesn't need to, but he's also one of the best players for quickly adapting his strategy in the moment. So the Wimbledon 2023 final was a great example where that's probably the first time I saw Alcaraz having these really, really quick tactical shifts that changed the complexion of that match entirely, especially after he lost that first set 6-1. He completely flipped the match on its head from the second set onwards. Arguably, you would say that Novak played quite a poor tiebreak, either whatever it was, the second or the third set. A couple of points there, he missed a few uncharacteristic shots, but I'd also say there was pressure there where maybe Novak wasn't used to that up to that point, and now we've got both Sinner and Alcaraz that are just, the two best players in the world by a country mile. It's not even close. And they've won, between them, they've won the last 6 Grand Slams. So they've made a statement on the tennis world. And it was amazing to see the two best players in the world compete for the first time in a Grand Slam final. It was amazing, just an amazing spectacle. And what a way to continue to establish this, incredible rivalry we've got at the top of men's tennis right now. And I cannot wait for Wimbledon, and I can't wait for the rest of the year. And in years to come, this rivalry, it just keeps going from strength to strength. I'll finish this video just to summarize why I think watching this match is important from a mental adversity side of things. Because I saw a lot of comments on, on socials, on Instagram, on Facebook about, how mentally tough Alcaraz is. And you could also say the exact same thing for Sinner, because Sinner never put his head down either. And he's probably the most consistent player in terms of he rarely puts in a bad performance, and he's a very consistent performer throughout the whole match. Whereas Alcaraz sort of comes in fits and bursts at times, but definitely brings out his best tennis at Grand Slams, particularly at Roland Garros and Wimbledon. I definitely think they're his two best Grand Slams. Clay and grass definitely suit his game. Hard court definitely suits his game too, but I think Sinner is definitely the hard court king at the moment. But just the mental adversity to come from 2-0 down, and especially from having 3 championship points faced on his own serve, the amount of pressure that he must have felt at that time, and to get through that is something that all of us club players, anyone out there that plays tennis, can take inspiration from. Just that never say die attitude, the will to continue to just get the best out of yourself, and also to just have no fear, just to not worry, because Alcaraz could easily have lost any of those 3 points. In his mind, he probably never thought that there was a possibility he could lose that match. But at the same time, he was also probably comfortable just going out on his own terms. I'm just going to go for it here, And obviously, tactically, he needed to make the right decisions. But at the same time, easily, he could have lost one of those 3 points. Sinner could have just, buckled down and just not missed. But Alcaraz decided to go for it and, continue to apply that pressure on Sinner, knowing that, taking out the title, there's an extra bit of pressure you would feel at that moment. So, definitely think it's one that we can all take inspiration from, and I'm definitely going to take inspiration from for my next match, basically. So yeah, but very keen to hear what you guys thought about the final. I'm sure, you know, most of you watched it. Unfortunately, I could only get through the first 2 sets. It was 2 a.m. in Australia time, so I thought, look, 2 sets to love up, and I think Sinner was up a break in the third, and I thought, this is it, he's going to win this in straight. But when I woke up the next morning, I couldn't believe my eyes. I genuinely gasped when I looked at the photo, so of the score, that is. So yeah, it was amazing to wake up to, and I watched the highlights, but I'm definitely keen to actually watch the full match from the third set onwards. I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but yeah, keen to hear what you guys think, wherever you are in the world, wherever you watch the match around the world, whether you were at Roland Garros. I'd love to hear from people that were watching it live, and just people in general that are watching it on TV at any part of the world. Keen to hear what your thoughts are, were on the match, and yeah, what you think of the Sinner Alcaraz rivalry and what you expect for Wimbledon and for, yeah, the rest of the year. So yeah, keen to hear what you guys think. But anyway, as always, guys, please like and subscribe for more life and tennis related content. Cheers, guys.